Picture late 19th century London. Thick, choking fog rolls through the alleys, hiding a predator who hunts in the dark and slips away without a sound. This attacker committed murders so brutal and executed them with such chilling calm that investigators were left completely baffled. Over a century later, his true identity remains entirely unknown. But he didn't escape justice through supernatural genius. He survived because he operated inside a perfect storm, an environment that shielded him, a society that panicked, and a police force completely unequipped to stop him. In 1888, London's Whitechapel district was deeply impoverished. Thousands were packed into decaying slums. This local geography offered distinct advantages to a criminal. The streets were a maze of claustrophobic alleys, blanketed by fog, where a scream in the night rarely drew attention. The victims were women forced to navigate these dangerous streets out of sheer desperation, making them highly vulnerable targets. When the bodies began to appear, the sheer violence of the attacks shocked local investigators. The killer acted quickly, silently, and with terrifying precision. Whitechapel actively shielded the attacker. Its dark corners and chaotic crowds provided the physical camouflage necessary for a killer to strike out in the open and vanish instantly. Soon, the murderer distinguished himself from the typical street criminal. He wanted an audience, and he decided to actively provoke his investigators. Newspapers received mocking, handwritten letters claiming responsibility for the violence. They promised more blood, signed with a name designed to strike fear: Jack the Ripper. By engaging directly with the press, he elevated himself from an anonymous slum killer into a highly publicized, larger-than-life phantom. The authorities responded by launching the largest, most desperate manhunt in British history. Police questioned hundreds of local residents and pulled in dozens of potential suspects for profiling, trying to find anyone matching the vague descriptions of the killer, but every lead hit a dead end. As the death toll rose and the killer remained completely untraceable, mass hysteria set in. Londoners stayed locked inside, leaving the streets entirely deserted after dark. Desperate for answers, the public started to profile the murderer themselves. Because of the precision of the injuries, a prominent theory emerged that he had to be a highly skilled surgeon or medical professional. Soon, the rumors spiraled further. The suspect pool expanded beyond local doctors to include wealthy aristocrats, hiding their psychopathy in plain sight, or even individuals directly tied to the royal family. Ultimately, the investigation collapsed under its own weight. The authorities were no longer tracking the physical man. They were forced to chase a media-fueled ghost through a city crippled by unchecked paranoia. So how did the combined weight of the British Empire fail to apprehend one individual operating in a single neighborhood? Investigators were operating inside a forensic void. 19th century policing simply lacked the scientific tools required to solve a crime where the killer had no prior connection to the victim. There was no DNA testing to analyze crime scenes, fingerprint databases did not exist, there were no security cameras to track movements. Physical evidence was practically useless. The killer did not possess superhuman intelligence or cunning. He simply enjoyed the ultimate technological blind spot. He was a highly lethal criminal who happened to exist in the brief window of history just moments before modern science was capable of catching him. Then, as quickly as they started, the murder stopped. The killer seemingly put down his blade and slipped quietly back into the sprawling, anonymous fabric of the city. Over a century later, the case remains entirely unsolved. The name Jack the Ripper still carries immense weight, commanding endless fascination and decades of intense historical scrutiny. The entire saga serves as a terrifying reminder of a time when a person could commit horrors out in the open, and then step off the cobblestones, vanishing directly into the fog. After thousands of hours of modern research, we still don't have a definitive answer. Who do you think was really hiding in those alleys? Let us know your theories down in the comments.